Hello and welcome to another whiteboard training video. I'm Isaiah Henkel with Cheeky Scientist. Today I'm talking to you about 23 things you need to know about LinkedIn, 23 changes to LinkedIn in 2020 that PhDs need to know about. We're going to jump right in. I do want to remind you that we have a very special LinkedIn webinar happening next Thursday at 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, specifically for PhDs and specifically on LinkedIn. It's going to cover everything I'm about to talk about. I'll put a link above the video, after the video, for you to sign up for free. For now, we're going to jump in. The first thing, your headline has to tell a story. Headline story time, that's what I call it. Before, your headline could just have a couple of skills, maybe a couple of job titles you were interested in, and a location, maybe a hobby. Now, you have to make sure that headline tells a story. LinkedIn's algorithm is looking at the keywords in the headline more than ever before. Not only that, employers are getting lazier. When they actually go to a LinkedIn profile, they're looking at your headline in the visual center, the top part of your LinkedIn profile that just shows your banner picture, your headshot, and your headline, and that's it. If your headline doesn't tell a story, as in if it doesn't tell them where you've been and where you want to go in your career, they're going to opt out. They're going to go to somebody else's page. So what does this mean? It means you can't try to be everything to everyone. You can't put multiple job titles anymore, skills that have nothing to do with the job that you want. You have to be very specific. If you want a job as an R&D scientist or an R&D engineer, you need to mention innovation, a key transferable skill that's on most job postings for R&D. As an example, innovation or innovator. Then you'd also need to put a skill, like a technical skill that's very specific for those positions. Where can you find that again? On the job posting. And then you would put R&D scientist. There's a lot more to go into here. We're going to talk about it on next week's webinar. For now, I'm going to go to number 2. Your banner picture. You have to put text in your banner picture now. A banner picture of a forest or a beach or a city doesn't mean anything, okay? It was better than having the stock blue LinkedIn background for your banner. That worked in 2019. It's not enough anymore. You need to have a banner picture with your key skills and who you are and where you want to go in the text, in the banner pic. So in the top right, you can put the picture into PowerPoint. You can overlay it with some text. Put some of your key skills and the jobs that you want in that text. Remember, the visual center is a very small area, and if you don't engage employers in the visual center, they're going to go somewhere else. Okay, so the visual center has the banner picture, your headshot, and your headline. Put some text in that banner picture. Don't waste that space. Number 3, your profile picture now affects your search. So the quality of your profile picture affects how high you show up in LinkedIn search algorithm. Now, Google, most search algorithms now, they can tell quality. They can read an image. They know if it's fuzzy, if it's not clear, if there's bad lighting, if it's a higher quality image, if people aren't bouncing away from your site because they can't, from your profile page because they can't see your picture well or because you have a bad picture, you're going to go down in the search rankings. You have to have a very high quality, very high definition profile picture if you want to show up high in the employer's search results. Number 4, skills, title, location in that order. So the most important thing to have on your LinkedIn profile is skills. If you go to LinkedIn Recruiter, LinkedIn Talent Insights, at the top, this is the LinkedIn that employers use, there's only 3 search fields: skills, job titles, location. Skills, job titles, location. But most PhDs don't prioritize this. You talk about You talk jargon, you talk about experience, you talk about things in the past. You have to focus on the skills that employers would be searching for on their version of LinkedIn. Skills are the most important. They have the most keyword strength. Then job titles, which is why you have to find a way to work in the job titles you're interested in into your profile. And then location. Employers are searching by location. If they're hiring a project manager in London, they're going to search project manager London. They would rather find somebody local, which means if you're not local, you have to put those cities, at least the top 2 or 3 cities you're interested in working in, somewhere in your profile. If you're willing to relocate, you should put that in your profile too, willing to relocate. Number 5, volunteer experience is prioritized. This is one of the most important sections in your LinkedIn profile now. Even though it's towards the bottom, it's very important. A lot of the other sections have been condensed into that little box where it says, 3 projects, 1 paper, 5 accomplishments. That's been condensed, but volunteer experience has not been condensed because people love reading volunteer experience. Employers love to read the volunteer experience. That's where they can find out what you really care about. So what we recommend is don't put anything that's too political or too religious. You can if you want to, but if it's an employer, you don't know how they're going to react. Instead, put something that is not academic, not STEM, something that you're doing outside of the normal academic sphere, the normal PhD sphere, something that humanizes you, something you're passionate about in terms of helping people, okay? Now, whatever it is you're passionate about, you're free to put there. Just try to make it things that, like Habitat for Humanity, right? You volunteer with kids. Stuff like that, that again is outside of academia, outside of STEM, not too controversial, but you get to decide what's controversial and what's not. Number 6, activity score. There's an activity score ranking. The more active you are on LinkedIn, the higher your activity score, the higher you're ranked, the more LinkedIn rewards you. As in, if you take 2 people who have equal profiles, one's very active on LinkedIn, one's not very active, the very active person's going to show up in the top of the search results when employers are searching for candidates. You have to be liking and commenting on posts, and not indiscriminately, because people can see your activity very easily now, which I'm going to get to. Number 7, put your PhD at the end of your name. You used to not be able to put PhD or certain characters like a dot in your name. Your name can have PhD at the end of it now. It's been like this for a while. You have to put PhD. There's so many PhDs don't have PhD at the end of their name. They think that it somehow hurts them. It doesn't. It'll help your candidacy. It'll have you show up to the top of search results if employers type in PhD. There's a button on LinkedIn Recruiter that says education level. And if you don't have PhD at the end of your name, guess what? You're less likely to show up in the top of the search results. Number 8, first person summary. Your summary now, your professional summary, it's different than your resume's professional summary. It has to be first person. You want to tell a narrative. I am so-and-so. These are the skills that I have that are relevant to where I want to head in the future. It has to be a future-facing story. You're telling a story, a narrative of where you're going in your career and why you're prepared to go there in your career. At the bottom of your summary, you have to have your phone number and your email now. This is 2020. People are going through LinkedIn profiles, people being employers, hiring managers, recruiters. They're seeing a LinkedIn profile they like. They're seeing a resume they like. They're picking up the phone to call you, sometimes without advance warning, okay? There's plenty of tools now for you to block numbers. You can get apps like RoboKiller to block spam. Don't worry about putting your phone number in your summary. Put it at the bottom of your summary so at least they have to click see more, but make it findable by recruiters and hiring managers. Number 10, curate your activity. If you ever go to somebody else's LinkedIn profile, at the top it says their recent activity. You can see what they're liking, what they posted, etc. So you can see if they're not active on LinkedIn, which means, oh, this person is not even on LinkedIn, I'm not going to reach out to them for a job because they're likely not going to respond. They can see if you're posting cat videos, if you're just liking cat videos, or if you're curating your activity, as in you're being very selective because you're looking for a job, you're only commenting on posts that are related to the fields that you want to get into. You're being very professional in terms of your activity on LinkedIn. You have to do this. So look at your own activity at the top of your profile and make sure it's telling the right story about you. Number 11, double-spaced messages. Mobile is used more than desktop now by recruiters and employers. So when you're reaching out to people, even if it's other employees you're trying to get referrals from, your networking scripts have to be short and they have to be double-spaced, as in one sentence, then a space, another sentence, then a space, because when you're scrolling on a mobile phone, for example, and you're reading somebody's message, what happens when there's 3 sentences in a row? It looks like a huge block of text, and nobody wants to read that. They want to be able to skim very easily, and the only way to skim easily on a phone is if it's just one sentence and a space, one sentence, a space. So double space every sentence. Make sure it looks up double-spaced on mobile. Your networking scripts, it's really important for you to do this or other people aren't going to read your messages. Number 12, shared connections introductions. You have to be getting introductions to hiring managers, recruiters, employees working at the companies you want to work for through shared connections. If you click on a company's profile page, you can look up 96% of companies are on LinkedIn. If you go to their company profile page, it'll show you all of the employees that work at that company, the employees that are on LinkedIn. You can see all the employees, and then it'll show you if you're connected to anyone who's connected to those employees. If you have a shared connection or a secondary connection. What you want to do is you want to click on those shared connections and you want to ask for introductions to the people you don't know. That's how you get introduced to employees working at a company in order to set up informational interviews. And I'm going to go into this in detail during next Thursday's LinkedIn webinar that's brand new for 2020. And again, I'm going to put a link for that above after the video. Number 13, curate employees with PhDs. So when you're going to company profile pages and you're looking at their employees, look for those that have a PhD. They're going to understand the PhD struggle. They're the best people to reach out to for informational interviews. And I'm going to talk about that on the webinar next week. 14, get followers. So you may have noticed on LinkedIn that you can not only get connections, you can also get followers, people to follow your profile. Get people to follow your profile by posting short articles, by posting great content, not just commenting, not just liking, but by posting great content, people will start to follow you. Even if you have a couple dozen followers on LinkedIn, it'll drastically improve your activity score and move you to the top of search results in LinkedIn Recruiter. You also have to have more than 500 connections. This is not a nice to have anymore, it's a must have. Don't be too discriminate when it comes to connecting. Connect with as many people as possible because it's not just about the person you're connecting with, it's about their shared connections you're getting access to as well. Number 16, make your work experience section functional, not just chronological. LinkedIn might try to make it chronological, but you can make it functional by focusing on the skills that are the most relevant for the jobs that you want and bumping those to the top. It doesn't have to go by company. It doesn't have to be chronological. You can hide the time and you can choose which company to show first. Manipulate the work experience section so your most relevant work for the jobs that you want are at the top. It does not have to be chronological. We're going to talk about this during next week's webinar. Number 17, the top 3 skills. You know your skills section where other people can endorse you? You have to make the top 3 skills transferable. Quit focusing on these niche technical skills that very few people care about. Focus on the broader skills that are going to appeal to more employers. As a PhD, you have broad skills that are highly valuable. The ability to collect information and data, that's research. The ability to analyze information and data. By the way, McKinsey & Company just released a report saying there's a 20% deficit of people who have those 2 skills in the job market right now. Another skill, and we'll talk about more on next week's webinar, information processing, your ability to learn quickly. Okay, put these skills at the top of your skills section. Number 18, you have to have 2 or more recommendations now. You're going to show up very low on the search results if you do not have 2 or more recommendations. It's a key part of LinkedIn's 2020 algorithm. 19, education. Too many of you you've spent all this time in academia, you list your education, PhD, master's, etc., and that's it. You just list the university. Add some bullet points. What are some key results you achieved besides the degree? Number 20, we've got 4 left. Keyword word cloud. This is a hack we've been talking about for years. We invented it at Cheeky Scientist. Your LinkedIn profile, unlike a resume, can't just be targeted for one position. It's got to appeal to all the employers for all the positions you're interested in. So go to as many job postings as you need to. Take all the text from those job postings, put it in a word cloud. The word cloud is going to show you, based on the size of a word, which skills are mentioned the most. Take the top 10 skills, put them in your LinkedIn profile. We have more hacks like that for you next week on the LinkedIn webinar. Number 21, you have to narrow your job search down to 3 or less job titles. You can't be interested in 10 job titles. Your LinkedIn profile is going to be too broad. We're going to show you how to narrow it down next week. Number 22, there is a recruiter button. That's what we call it, a Cheeky Scientist. It's an opt-in. If you go into your settings, you have to slide a button on. It looks like this. You slide on a button to say, I'm looking for a job. But only recruiters and hiring managers who have access to LinkedIn Recruiter will see you. If that button's not on, you're not even showing up in the search results. That's why you're not being contacted. We're going to talk about this on the webinar too. And then finally, this is very important. As a PhD, you'll understand this, and you'll also ask yourself, why have I not been doing this? As a PhD, you understand the importance of rationale, explaining why. employers, more than anything else, they want to know why you, as a PhD, want an industry job. You have to explain in your LinkedIn profile, you have to tell the story of why you're leaving academia and how you're going to use the knowledge you gained to translate it into something that's going to help a company. In terms of profits, productivity, innovations, you have to tell that story. We're going to talk about how to explain your rationale on next week's webinar. It's Thursday, 1 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That would be the 16th. Thursday the 16th, 1 p.m. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look for the link above. Get your early seat now. As always, remember your value as a PhD and start thinking and acting like a successful industry professional.